So how about I give you guys a little bit of a reading list? So due to a lot of the emails that I get, I thought I would make a video on my top 5 books for beginners. And now, this is mainly my opinion and books that I like. There are tons and tons of books, both back there, and books that are good for people that are just trying to get into Magic and trying to understand it. And I might even add more than the 5 that I have, or I might, kind of make a different video on this. But I always reference my library, so I thought I'd actually make a video or two, or maybe I'll make multiple videos on the different books that I have. So let me go over a couple of the books that, as you can see, it's in a little bit of a disarray over there because I had to pull some books down to show you guys. So, books for beginners. First off, I'm going to go with Modern Magic, this one, by Donald Michael Craig, and I can't say enough about the way that this book presents how magic works. It's got tons of info in there on the philosophy of it, how to effectively go about like understanding the elements and ritual structure and format, and just the way that Craig explains how magic itself works. Just the verbiage in here is just phenomenal. And I mean, this goes along with like a lot of the stuff like the kind of Golden Dawn-ish, right? Which I don't exactly prescribe to, but still just understanding this entire thing really gives you a great introduction to paganism, gives you a ton of background on the stereotypical like ritual format, whether you're gonna like go into Wicca or whatever path you're basically gonna take. And I mean, it's just chock full of so much information in here. I have not even like I've digested this book, but I could go back to it again and again and again and again and again. I mean, there's just so much to it, which is why it is like about 600 pages. Even if you are like a seasoned Magic person, I would, if you haven't read this one, please do. You're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't. There's not enough I can say about that one. Okay. So, because this is my particular bread and butter, I also gotta suggest Practical Sigil Magic by Frater UD. Now, in my own personal practice, I use sigils a lot. I have Handy Sigil Magic and Movement Magic, which is my own way of utilizing and manipulating sigils. And, if this book here not only talks about sigils, this is like the go-to that tons of people use for how to work with sigils. Like, if you want to learn about sigils, this is the main book that you go to. It describes how, like, the past with sigils, gives you a couple of methods on how to make them, tells you how to activate them, gives you the background of, you know, visualization and just intensifying the experience and activating the sigil and stuff like that. So I mean, if you already got Handy Sigil Magic or Movement Magic, I definitely would suggest this as a little add-on to it. Or if you haven't read this yet, even if you work with the 50 Names of Marduk, the Necronomicon spellbook, or anything that has to do with the Necronomicon, or any magical system that has sigils within it, if you want to understand sigils better, please get yourself this. Let's see. So, my next one that I'm going to go over is Instant Magic by Christopher Penkzak, and this one was just such an eye-opener for me way back in the day. Trying to get some dust off the pages here, whatever the heck that is. But, this one, it just wraps your head around, it gets you to understand the effectiveness of intention and visualization. Now, this has tons of different exercises of things that you can do on the go when you're out and about in terms of manipulating your own energy and using visualization to cause a change in external and internal, kind of instantaneous, spot, like, just when you need it. And of course you would need to practice this stuff, several times in order to make it effective, because you got to program your trigger, and you got to be able to effectively execute the spell work, which doesn't always happen off the bat. But the instantaneousness of the spells in here, practicing with these kinds of things, can really add to any spell work that you are doing, because the reliance on the emotional state, the visualization, and the intention is something that can carry across from just stuff that you want to do instantaneously to bigger rituals that you plan in your temple or ritual space, or even when you are going to execute something like the gate walking. Let's see, so I talked about those three. Let's talk about now, this one I love because it's so chocked full of allegorical stories that help you to understand magic, that I think that this might be a little bit more of an obscure book that not a lot of people have seen or read, but it's called The Witch's Magical Handbook by Gavin Frost and Yvonne Frost, the founders of the Church and School of Wicca at EST 1968. Now, this one, this really got my mind rolling back in the day to really understanding how magic works once I learned the basics. This gives you so many examples of different different magical practices and understanding different techniques through allegorical story. Now, humans are programmed to enjoy and understand stories. It's how we relate to one another, it's how we relate to experiences. When we hear stories, we kind of put ourselves in those stories to kind of understand how we would feel in that situation, or what we would do about it. And just the way that this presents a particular, like, it presents a like a principle of magic, like attracts like or something, then it tells you a story about it, or it gives you an example of a spell that you can do, and then it gives you a story about it, and it talks about the backlash, like when something doesn't work, and then when something does work. And just the way that everything is explained in here is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, and it goes over everything from, connecting with the energy around you, to spell work with tons of stories and examples, whether you want to practice alone or with a group, you know, healing yourself, making your own book of shadows, self-care, even fortune telling, which I can always argue with, but even where to take your practices from this book. Just the entire book, it teaches principles and different things through stories, which makes it super easy to understand and super easy to read. So along with, with Craig's book, Modern Magic, I highly suggest this one. I do have to say that out of the ones that I picked, these two would be the most influential, I think, in terms of things that I learned along the way. And if you guys don't have these, please get these. But I mean, I'm not trying to take away from the one book that I do have left, which really helps with the when it super helped me when I was working with the 50 Names of Marduk initially, and when I was creating Lama Du Dingir, which if you guys don't know about, check my books playlist or the Necronomicon playlist. When I was working heavily with the 50 Names of Marduk and such, is Constantinos' Summoning Spirits. Now this one really got me to wrap my head around what evocation is, what it does, how you experience it, how it feels, the way that you got to set up your ritual space, and just even the different parts of evocation and prayer and how it's supposed to go. So if you're gonna work with the 50 Names of Marduk, right, so I would pick this up and read this through, before looking at the Necronomicon spellbook. This gives you the background knowledge to kind of understand how evocation works, because a lot of people will step into evocations, and if the entity that they are looking to summon doesn't appear at full form in their living room, start stomping around and throwing stuff or whatever, then they think magic isn't real and whatnot. This kind of goes over, hey, this is what evocation is. I mean, there is a great explanation of evocation in this one right here, but then if you want to go deeper, this is the way to go about it. I mean, it's got its own ritual format in here, tells you the way to properly make a prayer. It's got a reference to the Simon Necronomicon spellbook in here, which is awesome. And then it's got plenty of different spirits with sigils and stuff that you can try yourself. Beneficial, beneficent entities that you can evoke. It's got the correspondences. It's got so much info. I mean, I'm just pouring through it, looking at all this stuff that I underlined while I was digging through it, and I know that when something's good, I'm underlining it, and I see tons of stuff here. So if I can find good info in here, so can you. And learning about evocation will definitely help you in any other magical path that you go on, whether it's working with the Simon Necronomicon or the Golden Dawn or the the Goetia or what have you. Because those other entities are out there, and I doubt that anyone who really practices magic is ever going to not work with an entity, or not arguably need to at one point or another. So those are my top 5 picks for pagan witchcraft books for beginners. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have read any of those and what you think about them, or what your top favorite books are for beginners, like any other suggestions that you might have for someone who is just starting on the path. So let me know what you guys think about this. Drop stuff in the comments. You can always email me. You can find the email and all that other stuff, including a link to my books and my fantasy novel, in the description below. So good hunting. Thanks for watching my video. So if you want to check out my playlists, I have, among others, the Simon Necronomicon, the Tree of Life, General Magic, Tulpamancy, a playlist on my books, the elements, stones, the theories that govern magic, and the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia. If you want to check out my books on Amazon, I have Creating Consciousness, Magical Mechanics, Magical Theater, Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Movement, which is an update and expansion upon Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Mastery, which is a combination masterwork of Magical Theater and Magical Mechanics, and The Guide to the Spheres and Beyond. You can also find me on Facebook at Magickology YT. You can email me at priestofthenecro@gmail.com, and you can even check out my Instagram, which is Magickology. And good hunting.